Shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi, bahashem, Mukah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And I'm going to go in on Acts, the 12th chapter, through the Holy Spirit. And this is just going into some persecution of the apostles. You know, this is something that we have to consider, because as we approach these times that we're entering into, including Jacob's trouble, you know, the men of Yahawahshi, we're going to face persecution from the oppressor. Okay? So the Most High, Yahawahshi, have set up these scriptures for our learning. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start at the top as always. Acts 12:1, it says, "Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church." Alright, because Herod was obviously against the church, which the true church was the apostles and the people that were following them and believing the true doctrine. It says, it says in verse 2, "And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword." You see, so one of the brothers, you know, John the Baptist's brother got killed. "And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread." So this is going into the Pesach, the Passover. Okay, and we always tell you, if you've been following us for years or whatever, during the Passover there's a lot of heavy things happen. You know, lots of judgment, lots of crazy things happen during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is also known as the Passover. Okay. Verse 4, "And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison, and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people." Right? And Easter is the pagan, you know, it's pagan. It's not something that the Israelites kept. That's a pagan holiday. Okay, that's something that the Greeks and the Romans kept. Okay. It says in verse 5, "Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto the Most High for him." And that's what we got to do, man. We got to constantly pray for the brotherhood. Pray for, you know, just pray for the brotherhood, really. You know, pray for the ones you love, you know. Pray that your family, certain members can be, you know, part of the elect. You know, because we know through the Holy Spirit that not everybody in our family is going to be of the elect, you know, but there are going to be some instances where you're going to have your family members will believe this knowledge and believe this truth, okay, and be therefore, you know, making them the elect. Verse 6, it says, "And when Herod would have brought him forth," "And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison." Alright, so this is showing you right here the power of Yahawahshi, and how, you know, as long as we're praying and we're sincere and we keep doing what's expected of us as the elect, you know, the Most High it's easy for him to deliver us from anything. He's the Most High. Okay, he has that power. You know, but you can't have lack of faith. You have to believe in these words that are written in these scriptures. You know? And once you get on that level of belief without doubting, you know, the Most High can do things for us. And you know, even there was instances where Yahawahshi, where he didn't perform miracles because there was a lack of faith. So if you want miracles to happen, then you better have faith that without doubt. Okay? Let's get that real quick. That's in Mark 6, 5, and 6. It says, this is talking about Yahawahshi. Well, let's start at 4. In Mark 6 and 4, but Yahawahshi said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. Okay, so Yahawahshi, he knew that there were even members of his own household. They didn't believe he was the Messiah. They didn't believe he was a prophet. They didn't believe he was the son of Yahawah. Okay? It takes faith. Alright? Verse 5. And he could there do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. And he went round about the villages teaching. Okay? So Yahawahshi marveled at their unbelief, and he couldn't do no mighty works, which another word for mighty works are miracles. So none of these miracles that were promised through the Holy Spirit, they're not going to come true if you don't believe. There's no miracles that are going to come forth if you don't believe. Okay? You have to have faith. You have to have belief. The elect are going to have faith. The elect are going to have unwavering belief. Okay? It's part of the plan. You know, if you don't have the faith, there's no miracles coming to you. If you don't have the faith that the promises like spiritual powers and deliverance, salvation, all these things, without faith, it's not possible. Okay? Let's get that real quick. Because works, what does it tell you? Works without faith is dead. Okay? Let's get James. And I'll go to 26. Well, let's see. Let's go to 17. It says, even so, faith, if it had not works, is dead, being alone. So the faith, you have to have the works, which the men of the Lord were out there doing the work of Yahawah bahashem Yahawahshi. Okay? It says, yeah, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Okay? Let me jump down to 22. James 2 and 22. Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect. Okay, so we're making our faith is being made perfect by our works. You got to back it up with your works. You got to back it up with, that's how you back up faith. Because everybody can say they have faith, but if you're not doing the works, if you're not doing the deeds, you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're well, let's read it. It says in 26, the last verse here, James 2 and 26. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. Okay? So it compares it to a fucking carcass. You know, if you don't have any spirit, any soul in a body, that body's dead. That's a dead person. The same thing with faith without works. You need to have works. You need to have, you know, even if it's praying, you know, sincerely. That's a work of faith. Okay? Because we know not everybody's going to be out there prophesying and teaching. But the elect, you know, the 144,000 are going to be the prophets teaching. But the elect are going to be the ones that believe. But you can't just sit there and say, I have faith in Yahawah, and not have nothing to back it up, you know. Like praying is a big thing that, like we read earlier, praying without ceasing. You know, don't stop praying. Okay? Let's go back to Acts 12. So the day right when Herod was gonna bring forth Peter to be put to death, to slay him, the angel of the Lord delivered Peter out of the prison. Let's read it. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and keepers before the door kept the prison. And behold, the angel of Yahawah, bahashem Yahawahshi, came upon him, and a light shined in prison. And he smote Peter on the side, and raised him up, saying, Arise up quickly, and his chains fell off from his hands. So the Most High, hey, bro, you who listening, the Most High can just take you out of a prison. Chains just fall off your hands, your legs, wherever they put them on you. And the Most High can deliver. He have an angel take you out of that place, man. You know? And you know, this is actually, this chapter is super relevant for me right now, because I'll leave it at that, but it's super relevant for me because, you know, somebody in my family who is, I believe, wrongfully accused of a crime is, you know, facing possible prison time, you know. And it's been kind of heavy on my mind lately, and for the Lord to bring me to this chapter, you know, it's super relevant, super necessary. But anyway, verse 8, and the angel said unto him, Gird thyself and bind on thy sandals. And so he did. And he saith unto him, Cast thy garment about thee and follow me. So the angel was like, put your shoes on, man, let's go. And he went out and followed him, and wits not that it was true which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. So Peter couldn't even believe it was happening. Right? He's like, oh my God, I'm getting delivered out of prison. When they were past the first and second ward, they came unto the iron gate that leadeth into the city, which opened to them of his own accord. And they went out and passed on through one street, and forthwith the angel departed from him. So once he got Peter into the city, out of the prison, you know, he left. Peter was on his own. It says, and when Peter was come to himself, meaning by himself, he said, Now I know of a surety that Yahawah bahashem Yahawahshi has sent his angel. So he finally started to realize, because could you imagine, you're asleep in a prison, and next thing you know, just Because the angel would have appeared as a man, you know. I mean, it did say it was bright, so he had a brightness to him. But once it's all settling in, you know, and he realized, oh my God, Yahawah bahashem Yahushai hath sent his angel to deliver me out of the hand of Herod and from all the expectation of the people of the Jews, right? Because they were against him. And when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. And remember, they were all praying, you know. So that's an important part of this this whole thing we're talking about is cease not to pray. You have to pray to Yahawah bahashem Yahushai, man, faithfully, unceasing, meaning never to stop, you know. And I've been in that spirit lately, praying all the time, you know, because of, you know, just, well, not only just because of the ministry, but because of the thing that my family is dealing with right now, you know, praying. And I know I'm praying. I can't speak for everybody else. Verse 13, and as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a damsel came to hearken named Rhoda. So this woman, she came and she heard him. She heard Peter. And well, let's read it. And when she knew Peter's voice, she opened not the gate for gladness, but ran in and told how Peter stood before the gate. So they all thought he was in prison, but she runs in and tells them, yo, Peter's at the door. He's at the gate. And they said unto her, thou art mad. So they thought she was crazy. But she constantly affirmed that it was even so. Then said they, it is his angel. They thought it was his angel. They thought he was put to death. They thought it was his spirit. But Peter continued knocking, and when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished, so they couldn't believe their eyes. Okay, because they knew he was in prison, and they probably had a hunch that Herod was going to try and put him to death, you know. But again, if you have faith and you have, you know, works to back it up, and you have your prayer, and guess what? Yahawah bahashem Yahushai, man, he has our back. You know, that's why we don't have to worry. You know, but we do have to pray. We do have to, you know, do these works. You know, we have to do the lessons. We have to go out on the street corners and prophesy and teach and show the Israelites their transgressions. Teach them their transgressions, because our people don't even know their transgressions. They don't know the sins because they don't know the laws. You know. Verse 17, but he, beckoning unto them with the hand to hold their peace, declared unto them how Yahawah bahashem Yahushai had brought him out of prison. And he said, go show these things unto James and to the brethren. And he departed and went into another place. You know, to build the faith of the brothers, to show the brothers, like, hey, Yahawah bahashem Yahushai got us, man. That's what he's telling them. Now, as soon as it was day, there was no small stir among the soldiers what was become of Peter. So when the daytime happened, they were all like, oh shit, where the hell is Peter? These soldiers that were supposed to be, you know, watching him in the prison. And when Herod had sought for him and found him not, he examined the keepers and commanded that they should be put to death. And he went down from Judea to Caesarea and there abode. So Herod was so pissed off, he wanted them put to death, the prison, the wardens. Okay, verse 20. And Herod was highly displeased with them of Tyre and Sidon, but they came with one accord to him, and having made Blastus the king's chamberlain their friend, desired peace, because their country was nourished by the king's country. And upon a set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne and made an oration unto them. Okay, so now this is Herod. He's well, let's read it. But he's in a proud spirit right here. It says, and the people gave a shout, saying, It is the voice of a God and not of a man. They're talking about Herod. And immediately the angel of Yahawah bahashem Yahushai smote him, because he gave not the Most High the glory. And he was eaten of worms and gave up the ghost. But the word of the Most High grew and multiplied. And Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem when they had fulfilled their ministry, and took with them John, whose surname was Mark. Okay? So the Most High can turn things around in a moment. Alright? The plan was for Herod to put Peter to death, to slay him. But it's you gotta never forget that Yahawah bahashem Yahushai is the one controlling things. He's the one who has the power to do these type of things, okay? Because the one who was supposed to be put to death that day was Peter. But that was not the Lord's will. Yahawah bahashem Yahushai's will. And remember, you always have to remember, the Most High, He sets up these people around us. He sets them up because they think they're gonna harm us, and then Yahawah bahashem Yahushai ends up harming them. So you can't forget what kind of power we have. He's a terrible power to the heathen. He's a terrible. Let's see if I can get that. There's a verse. There's a lot of verses that speak on that, but let me get one, Lord willing here. We'll grab a couple here. We'll go to start at Zephaniah 2:11. It says, Yahawah will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth, all these false idols, these false gods that the heathen worship, and that our people follow the heathen and worship right along the heathen. Our people follow false gods, false idols, false names. You name it. Our people are wicked. They act like the heathen, It says, and men shall worship him, everyone from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. Okay? So now let's go to Malachi 1:14. It says, but cursed be the deceiver, which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrificeth unto Yahawah bahashem Yahushai a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith Yahawah of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen. Okay? So the Most High, His name alone is dreadful among the heathen. And He's going to be terrible unto them, man. But the thing we got to do is be those put on as the elect, right? You gotta put on as the elect. You can't sit here and think you can move like a heathen, act like a heathen, follow a heathen god, and then sit there and think that Yahawah bahashem Yahushai has got your back. Okay. Let me see. Let's get that real quick. Put on as the elect. In Colossians 3:12, it says, put on therefore as the elect of the Most High, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another, if any man have a quarrel against any, even as Hamashiach Yahawahshi forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. Okay, and charity is what we do when we go do the work. Because this is charity. It's we don't charge to teach, right? We don't ask you for tithes. We don't ask you for money. We go out and teach because the Holy Spirit is on us. Okay? But the point here is verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of the Most High Yahawah. Okay, so if we hope to have these miracles done for us, if we hope to have our enemies cursed, we got to put on as the elect. And the elect are going to have faith with works. Meaning you're going to be praying to Yahawah bahashem sincerely. If you're a prophet, you're going to be out there on the street corners prophesying in the names of Yahawah bahashem. So, that's the point. The point's been made. Much needed lesson. The Wada Yahawah bahashem for taking me to this chapter. Okay, through the Spirit. But with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahawah bahashem, Yahawahshi, bahashem, Raka Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Al-Akian, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Keep enduring, brothers. Keep enduring. Kwam Yasharallah. And again, Shalom to the elect. And I'm going to let this one breathe for about 30 more seconds because I didn't realize that. Looking at the time, it's about to be 10:44. So hey, Kahala Yahawah bahashem Yahawahshi, Kahala Yahawah bahashem Yahawahshi, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahawahshi. Okay, that's Yapah. That I because I didn't know what the time was. I just did the lesson. So once it hits that 10:44, I'm out. Shalom. Shalom.